Okay. Well, first, my name is Adolf Ng, and good morning, Edward. Good morning, Joseph, and good morning, everyone. And I'm speaking on behalf of CCAPPTIA, of which I'm the founding director. And then for me also at the same time, I'm also the acting dean and professor of the United International College in Hong Kong Baptist University in Zhuhai, China. And so I think what I will do today now is that first I will try to, on behalf of CCAPPTIA, introduce a little bit about CCAPPTIA as a research network. And also I will try to also provide some of the, give some background in terms of the Arctic and also the Arctic shipping. And because I know that today there are a lot of very, very prestigious and very knowledgeable speakers that are providing a lot more detailed information about it. So I think what I would do is to try to put it this way, like what you see in the PowerPoint, is to try to first give a first impression about what Arctic and Arctic shipping is about. And then I think I will leave to the to other speakers to provide the details. And so yeah, thank you. Okay, so in this slide, you can see the front page of CCAPPTIA. CCAPPTIA, the full name of CCAPPTIA is the Climate Change Adaptation Planning for Port and Transport Infrastructures and the Arctic. And so this is our website. And so I would like to invite all of you to visit our website. And in fact, very soon, we will also have a physical home, which will be in the United International College campus in Zhuhai, of which there will be like a big data analysis, VR laboratory, as well as like behavioral laboratories. And so put it very simple, I think this is a great honor for CCAPPTIA to be collaborating with the Hong Kong Maritime Museum in organizing this workshop that is related to Arctic development and Arctic shipping. And so I have been involved in Arctic research for 7 years now. And so which started in 2016. And it was actually based on a project that was funded by the Canadian government and the Canadian Coast Guard on the impacts of oil spill and how would it affect both the biological, environmental, social, and economic impacts on the Northwest Passage in Canada. And in fact, based on this background, we start our Arctic research, and that's also the background in setting up this research CCAPPTIA network, of which the objective is to try to bring together leading experts, stakeholders, and right holders from academia, government, industry, consultants, interest groups, and community groups in addressing the challenges and opportunities posed by climate change and the Arctic. And so in here, and also what you will see in our webpage, you will be able to see some of the areas that we are doing research and doing consulting work on. And I hope that this will also be an opportunity, or I say a starting point, that we can actually start more collaborative activities with, of course, the Hong Kong Maritime Museum, as well as any other organization and institutions that are interested on this area. Hopefully, that will be the starting point. And so I think, we'll say so much about CCAPPTIA. So I think for the rest of this presentation, would like to give you some basic background, or like I said, the first impression about Arctic and Arctic shipping. So I think probably that will be something that I can start with is the two maps on the so-called the average maximum and minimum sea ice extent on average between 1981 and 2010 in the Arctic area, of which, if we are talking about the Arctic area, I think firstly, the definition is not something that is very concrete, saying that is from which latitude or which longitude and then to which latitude and longitude. But I think in general, we do understand that that covers some areas that include northern Canada, northern Russia, Greenland, and then also Alaska, as well as some other areas that are in the northern part of Europe, and of course in Scandinavia. So I think what we can see is that the map on the left is actually the average maximum extent, which is in March between 1981 to 2010, of which you can actually see that most of the areas in that Arctic region are covered with ice. But then in September, the minimum, it was the map on the right. We can actually see that that the ice extent has been shrinking a little bit, and I think that actually that is the basis that was able to create the potential for Arctic shipping. As you can see nowadays, we usually, when we are talking about Arctic shipping route, we are talking about the orange route, the Northwest Passage on the left, and of course the white line, the northeast, the Northern Sea Route (NSR) on the right, getting through northern Russia, and of course potentially a TSR, a transpolar shipping route, which is in the middle, going through via or very, very near to the North Pole. But I think as Egret has mentioned, so I think one thing that we need to be very concerned about Arctic and Arctic shipping is that when we are talking about the melting ice, it's not necessarily that all the ice has been transformed into water. It could only simply means that before it was really concrete ice, and now, but then it has become a lot of sea ice, or it has been broken down into ice, but then possibly navigation could be possible, but at the same time, it could also create a lot of hazard. And so some further diagrams. The diagram on the left is actually the average sea ice age that compared between March 1990 and March 2016. I think it's not difficult to see that in terms of the sea ice age, in 1990, it actually, a large area of it, especially the area above Canada, Greenland, and Alaska, the sea ice age is like more than 5 years. However, when it comes to 2016, you can already see that the age of the sea ice has already been shrinking. And you can see some kind of a similar pattern on the two maps on the right. On the right, that is actually the average length of the ice season between 1979 and 2013, and of which you can also see that perhaps the area that are very near to the North Pole may not change too much, but for those areas that are relatively close to the land, or like the more coastal areas, you can actually see that actually this average length of the ice season has been shrinking. And so, well, in 2019, we have been on an expedition on the Canadian Coast Guard research ship Emerson. And so there has been a number of, we went through the Northwest Passage and also tried to conduct a number of experiments, as well as to try to actually go through and try to actually have a kind of filter to understand what exactly Arctic shipping is. And I believe that later, Dr. Mawuli Afenyo will be able to provide you even more detailed information about this expedition. But I think very quickly, what I would like to show you are two photos, of which these are some of the landscape. These are actually some of the photos that have been taken during the expedition. Well, very expected that there will be ice, but perhaps if you look at the photo on the right, there will be something that apart from ice, there are also a lot of other type of hazards that we can actually see in Arctic shipping, not least is that it's about the fog, right? And also the type of unclear visibility. And of course, when we are talking about the Arctic, we are also talking about, in more general terms, it's a region with extreme conditions. So there is actually a lot of uncertainty. We have very limited historical navigation record. A lot of the navigation, a lot of the safety and regulation are still conducted based on experience rather than data. And then there will be also a lot of different type of hazard. And we also don't know that, for example, if there is a large scale oil spill, what will be the impact on this area, on this region, compared to a conventional area, let's say in the ocean, etc. And I think these are all some of the aspects that we need to pay attention to when we are trying to, let's say, to introduce shipping activities in the Arctic, and finally also opportunities for further research and collaboration. And finally, before I end my presentation, I would like to to propose or suggest one thing is that Arctic shipping actually has a land perspective. So what I mean here is that in the case of Canada, for example, when we are talking about Arctic shipping, perhaps we are talking more than just about ships getting through the Northwest Passage so that they can be moving cargoes from China to the US. So in the case of Northern Canada, for example, Arctic shipping is also regarded as a tool that are, number one, that are lowering the cost or encouraging further trade and activities between Northern and Southern Canada. And then on the other hand too, Arctic shipping can also potentially be a tool that are promoting the welfare and also the social well-being of especially the indigenous communities. That there are more than 400 indigenous communities in Northern Canada. And so I think especially for some of you I know that you might have some maritime logistics or supply chain background. I think you will be very easy to understand when we are talking about shipping. Shipping is just one part of the supply chain, right? Or one part of the logistics. And so when we are talking about efficient Arctic shipping, we are also talking about to what extent other land-based facilities like port and harbors or rail tracks are able to actually support the shipping activities that will be promoting certain type of social, economic, and even political objectives. And in fact, this photo was actually taken on a place which is not too far away from the port of Churchill in Manitoba in Canada, of which it was taken in 2017. That there was a flood, and of which the whole rail track was actually washed away. And so then for more than like 2 years, basically the connection has been completely been damaged and also disrupted, and shipping activities are forced to stop. And so I will say that when we are thinking about so-called Arctic and Arctic shipping, this is one aspect that perhaps I would like, hopefully all of you will be able to be aware of, is in this part of the world, we think a lot about going, it's from China to Europe, China to North America, the distance will be shorter so that we save costs. But in fact, Arctic shipping is more than just about saving costs, shorter distance, but it is in a much bigger context that will involve a lot of social, economic, and political perspectives. And so I think that is pretty much what I would like to share with you today. And once again, I cordially invite you to attend, to visit our website. And also, finally, once again, thanks a lot to the Hong Kong Maritime Museum. And also, thank you very much. And I look forward to all the very, very interesting knowledge and also the interesting experience that will be shared by our speakers for today. And once again, thank you very much.